If we can get someone phone fasting, increasing their sunlight exposure, and making sure they're single screening when they rest in the evenings and on the weekends, it's going to really support their energy system to avoid the burnout. The challenge with instant gratification is it trains your brain to choose the easy path. You know, when you wake up in the morning, the hard path would be going to the gym, going outside for a walk, making your bed, getting the kids up, the more effortful things. Often in the morning, for example, we choose instant gratification. We open our eyes and we think, oh, I'll go straight on my WhatsApp, my email, my Instagram, and get a dopamine hit. One time doing that seems pretty meaningless. Doing that every day over days and weeks and months and years trains your brain to actually want to always get pleasure easily. When it comes to then work, in terms of our mental clarity and our cognition and our ability to achieve success, if your brain is trained to choose the easy thing, it means you sit down at your tasks and you look at your email and your different to-do lists, and your brain always wants to keep picking the easy task to complete. Maximum output from an organization occurs when the organization chooses to do the hard thing over the easy thing. When we successfully complete the hard thing, we generate a ton of natural dopamine. A brain high in natural dopamine then becomes clearer and more cognitively capable. So, for example, waking up and learning to delay gratification rather than choose instant gratification is a simple step and a simple tweak that leads to far better performance and mental health within a company. For me, what inspired the dose effect is my own addiction to dopamine. I grew up as someone that just really chased high stimulation, pleasurable experiences. And when I was young, that was things like cigarettes and alcohol and partying and sugary food. Social media then boomed when I was a teenager. Suddenly I was on social media a huge amount of the time. And that was fun for a little bit, but gradually I began to see this significant relationship between, if I abuse what we call quick dopamine in our research, my life doesn't go as well as I want it to. I'm less motivated, less connected in my relationships, my attention span was much worse. And when I was at university, I started lecturing at Exeter University, and I really wanted to reach a high level of performance and happiness in my life. And I came to discover that the only way there was to find a way to sacrifice some of this quick dopamine, build healthier relationships with it, and then additionally activate all these other hormones that are so beneficial, our oxytocin, our serotonin, our endorphins. Once that journey really developed and I built this whole habit-based structure for the lab, but also for my own life, to be honest, I couldn't believe what happened. Once your chemistry is in harmony, your performance is just so high, and how connected you feel, how happy you feel, how excited by life you feel is just exceptional. And that shift in my own experience, my own working life, my own performance then motivated me to think, wow, let's get this model nice and simple, nice and easy to action, so everyone in organizations can do the same. Burnout is easily done these days. I myself have experienced burnout about 4 years ago, where you reach that point where you really can't get your system to do anything. Your battery is empty. This occurs from extreme overstimulation for a prolonged period of time, where your cortisol, your stress hormone, is overactive and chronically activating. And rather than reaching burnout, where we can't work at all, it's so good to have measures in place and habits in place that enable us to consistently regulate the system back to baseline in order to thrive over the long term. Some of the most simple things include phone fasting. In a similar way to fasting from food, we develop simple structures in our mornings, when we're sitting at our desks, in our lunch breaks, in our evening routines, where we intentionally ensure there are a short period of time where the phone is not seen once. With each check of the phone, for context, every time you quickly look at your WhatsApp, your email, your Instagram, you get this quick dopamine activation in the brain in a very similar way to taking a toke of a cigarette. That over time begins to burn out the engine in a very similar way to if you got in a car and left it in neutral and then revved the engine every morning, eventually you'd burn the engine out of that car. If we can have good breaks in the morning, in our work day, and in the evening from the phone, just to let the dopamine system restore, it makes a massive difference to burnout. Having a very good and huge prioritization of sunlight in your life is unbelievably important. There was a fascinating research study that did a meta-analysis, a study of studies, on individuals' mental health and their energy levels. And they had 85,000 people in this research, and they were trying to identify what is the most valuable habit in someone's life that helps them maintain good mental clarity, mental health. They looked at lots of things: their food, their sleep, a huge amount of things that we know are very good. The most significant marker was how much sunlight the individual got each day. Humans lived outside for 300,000 years, so our brain has a huge relationship with the sun. And having really consistent moments where in the morning, if it is light in the morning, having short 5 to 10 minutes then, mid-morning breaks, lunch breaks, evenings, so that, for example, in the UK, in the winter, we just completely give up on the fact the outdoors exists, and then we all develop seasonal affective disorder. It's very beneficial to try and get more sunlight. And then we really help people just make sure that when they're resting in the evening, they're single screening. Netflix and Amazon actually now have this thing where they're creating shows and dumbing them down so that because they know that we're all looking at our phones whilst watching the TV, and we're double screening because our dopamine gets too bored at one screen now. Just watching a movie in the evening or watching a show with your partner or on your own is actually restful for the brain. What isn't restful is watching one whilst also checking your email, your WhatsApp, your Instagram, and scrolling. If we can get someone phone fasting, increasing their sunlight exposure, and making sure they're single screening when they rest in the evenings and on the weekends, it's going to really support their energy system to avoid the burnout. I think if we were to look at a few of these chemicals, with dopamine, the most important thing for dopamine is that an individual feels that they have direction in their life. When you have clear direction for your day, for the task you're about to do, for your life in general, you'll notice motivation rises significantly. And when life feels a bit aimless and confusing, it's very easy to then get very distracted and not achieve anything. Some organizations struggle with potentially, rather than giving an individual direction, they more just put pressure on the individual. Pressure isn't going to generate dopamine, but giving them clear direction, whatever area of the organization they operate in, is really important for their dopamine system. With their oxytocin, which is going to be crucial for keeping them calm, reducing anxiety, giving them a good sense of belonging in the organization, helping them feel trusted within the organization so that they can really become someone that reaches their full potential effectively. With oxytocin, it's all about making someone feel deeply seen and appreciated for the actions they take. And we know this within organizations. We also know it within our relationships. When your partner, for example, deeply appreciates you for the actions and the areas in which you support them in their life and contribute to the collective relationship or family, it feels very nice. And when someone intentionally appreciates you, your oxytocin levels go very high. If that happens within an organization from a leader to an employee perspective, once their oxytocin goes very high, they then feel a deep sense of belonging within that organization. They have greater likelihood to want to remain in that organization, not just remain, but also do an incredible job for the team, because they're then in a state where it's like, I'm a part of this team. I want to contribute. Their dopamine from direction, oxytocin from appreciation. Then one of the big things is if an individual feels they're under threat, their nervous system goes crazy and their cortisol system goes up, and it reduces someone's capacity to think clearly. So it's really important to develop a supportive mentality with people within the organization, not a threat-based way of getting results. Threat creates fear. Fear often reduces the quality of someone's work. So I'd say direction, appreciation, and supportive communication are crucial for their brain chemistry. I really hope they develop a great relationship with technology. I love technology. I love social media. I love the fact I can work on my computer all the time. But there's this balance we need to strike with technology where we can just have space from it. I think if you can't learn to live without technology, you actually can't live with it at all. So if you develop the ability to have good space from tech, it's only going to increase your capacity to use it really well. I hope they develop an amazing ability to connect with the people they work with, building really strong, resilient relationships within an organization where you feel seen and appreciated and want to contribute to the team is a big thing we focus on. Developing an amazing ability to manage their habits from an energy level perspective around their sleep, their nutrition, their sunlight, their natural environment, so that on the weekend, for example, they're restoring their system to the max. And then our final component is ensuring we build a really resilient human to stress. We talk a lot about that in order to understand it's not about just learning to calm stress and meditate. That is also great to do. Meditation's amazing. But it's really important to just become a very courageous, strong individual in the face of setbacks within the working world, especially the intensity we're at now. And we help someone get very resilient to the pressure they may face.